We're live on Facebook. Let me go over to there and check this. Fun. So what have you been up to? Anything good?
Just working.
So what do you do for a living to be able to go out there at Goldrush and do all this hard car stuff?
Me and my dad put in mainline fiber.
What is that exactly? I'm not gonna lie to you, I have no idea what that is.
Like your fiber optic internet, your high speed internet. Like
Fun.
Gig a second. Yeah, we install all the conduits, and sometimes we'll do the fiber part.
Fun. So your dad's Derek Shelley, right?
Yes. A lot of people have thought that he was my brother.
Looks a little old to be your brother. I wouldn't go that far, but
a couple years ago, he looked a lot younger.
Well, I guess I did too. Let's set up TikTok. Okay, I believe I'm checked, and I think we're live.
Sweet.
Fun. How many interviews do you do?
This is my third one.
Dude. So, what is it like out there in Utah with all the like social media and stuff and like all the interviews and stuff like that? Is it like really big or like what's going on out there?
All the interviews I've done have been from back east guys.
Huh.
I don't think anybody here streams like podcasts or anything like you're doing, or like Hard Nose. And I guess there is a guy on the West Coast, Bobby Rutledge. He does another podcast, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
So what were some of the main differences from Derby and out there at Goldrush compared to like regular just Utah?
Definitely the build. I mean, just back to front on a car is completely different. Like our rules for like Heber are like 23 or 24 pages long. Like there's absolutely no created seam welding, no manipulating taillights. That's why the taillight panels on that Caddy are vertical. Because that's just how I've always built. Like our taillight panels have always had to stay vertical. No beading and welding and like a lot of guys do out there. I think it looks a lot better.
So, I mean, obviously, you've seen all the comments about the back of that Cadillac. So what do you think it's gonna do? Do you think it's just gonna stay straight, or like what do you think is gonna end up happening out there?
So, the biggest thing with the trunk is, or why there's no hump plates on it, is because I had chose spindles, right? Because in the long run, I'd rather have steering and a blown out hump. I'd rather not have to worry about losing a tire or whatnot. And I think Chris told me to bring the car back because it has no plates on it. So we're not going to find out for another like 11 months what it really does. But
so you're taking it back to Goldrush next year?
Yeah, it has no plates. I broke a trans and then just had bad luck. That was like neither mine or the motor guy's fault. It was just a rag that had worked its way down in the intake from the drive from the shop to my shop, his shop to my shop. A rag had worked its way down into the high-rise intake and ended up sucking a rag through the intake valve on cylinder 6. Never happened, ever. Never had it happen in 12 years of Derby.
So wait, like a rag happened? Or...
Yeah, like we put rags in the intake to keep it covered while I took it to my shop to install it. And one of the rags must have like broke loose from the pack and went down in. Because we ran it and everything before we loaded it.
You would have figured if it was going to cause a problem, it would have been like instantly.
Right.
That's
So I
weird.
was like, I was dumbfounded, and it was just, I think bad luck just followed me that whole trip, because I broke down on the way back. It literally took me twice as long to get home. Didn't even make it home with the car. Had to go back and get it. But anyways, the trunk, I think that it's gonna stay straight as long as nobody directly hits the frame, which is gonna be, a trunk to trunk shot. But I believe it's gonna do some damage before it goes down. It will go down eventually, and once it does, the track's so hard out there that everybody's bumpers were dragging. But
I
like
so
we've
does
been,
the go ahead.
oh sorry, like we've been allowed hump plates in Utah for a couple years now, and we get both. We get spindles and hump plates, and I've got 4 cars at my shop that need to go to the scrapyard, and they all have hump plates, 22-inch hump plates, and they are wrapped around wrapped around themselves. I just feel like they'll bend anyways.
Yeah, I get you. So what are the rules like out there in Utah?
Oh, they're insane. There's no full cradles yet. Like, I don't know what the rules are going to be for 2024, but 2023, like 80s and newer, including 03 and newers, get dash bar kickers, leaf conversions with a 9-pack. Every car gets 22-inch hump plates, even leaf cars.
Huh.
And then 18-inch brackets front and rear, any front and rear bumper. Just a lower engine cradle with a transmission brace. But some old iron and some oddball cars do get mid plates with kickers off the mid plates to the frame. And then like your 73 and 4 caddies, they don't get mid plate or mid plate kickers. So there's a ton of rules. Like Goldrush was 13 pages, and
That's
I
a
feel like
lot.
it was pretty toes with our rules, except for the 1-inch body bolts, no hump plates, the 10-inch rear brackets, full cradles. Because we get 6 down bars to the frame in Utah, and the transmission cross member.
Hmm. So out there in Utah, like obviously around here, I'm from Ohio, which is basically like the tactical driving capital of the world, or bagger capital of the world, however you want to say it. So what is it true that out there, like what driving at Utah is like every nobody cares?
To win,
Yeah, like is that true?
I feel like a few guys probably, do want to win, but if they lose, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Like they're like, even myself, I like to do well, but I mean, I could lose and not care. But if I do get, like, I'd rather do good. Anybody would, right? And yeah, but dude, there's a couple guys out here, like Proctors, dude. I've watched that dude junk a car in one hit, like fresh car, kickered 18-inch bracket car, one hit. It was a full track, nasty hit, and he was
On
happy
what?
as crap. I think it was another 03.
Oh,
Like, I watched Briar Proctor nose an 03 with an imp, and it junked the imp in like 3 hits, and he was just happy as could be. We're just there for fun.
so are the O3s limited compared to everything else? Because that's how it is around here.
No, we get weld-in cradles with a 12 by 4-inch, quarter-inch thick flat bar on the motor side of frame to butt weld the engine cradle to, with a welded spring pocket on the outside of the rails that can be 6 by 6, with an 18-inch bracket that touches the spring pocket. Or you can have a bolt-in cradle, like a steel cradle, and it can be not welded to the frame, but it can be 14 inches long. Your bracket can be welded to it. Your kickers can be welded to it. Like, they allow hard cars, but I mean, I think there was 12 guys that broke engine blocks last year, or 2023. I broke the back of my block off.
Well, you got hit in the block.
I got hit. Yeah, I got hit dead in the crank. That was wild.
How does that even happen?
I don't know. A lot of people think he knows he did bend the car. I'll give him that. He did bend the car, but he hit, like, from looking at the car and watching multiple points of view, it looks like he hit a dip right before me, and I was in a 94 town car that was tilted 4 inches with kickers, and he was in an 03, but it was a little lower. I think he had just Vic spindles on it, and I had +2s on mine. And it looks like he went under the car. He hit the idler, center of crank, and the pulley protector that didn't do really anything because it just bent it straight back. And then he hit the power steering box, and it sheared the frame on the inside of the rails. It was the weirdest thing. Like, repairing the car was not fun.
Did you run it the second day, or were you guys not have enough time?
No, I was trying, because I had just built that motor. That motor, it was the same motor I took to South Dakota, dude. I had 2 minutes of runtime on that motor when I got crank punched. On a fresh build. Everything was new.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
it was wild.
How much did that cost you?
Without carb, it was like $77.50, I believe. Oh, to fix it? Or to build? Oh, to fix it was $4,200. It was crank, rods, and block.
So pretty much everything was junk, basically. Besides,
the top end and the pistons were fine.
Well, I mean, I mean that's good, I guess.
Yeah, it was better than replacing everything that I had just bought.
I guess, yeah. So was that a Schrade? Because I'm pretty sure those guys aren't they like the big engine builders out there in Utah?
Schrade is pretty big out in Utah, but it was Kenny Keller. He's a local guy out of Manti. He lives like 45 minutes away from the shop. I mean, I've been running his motor since 2017, 2018. And I mean, I don't know how much money I've won with them, but I've placed with them. I've taken Mad Dogs with them. I mean, my dad had Hannah a little 305 with a cam in it, and Kenny had, tinkered with it and timed it and everything, built a carburetor for it, and I ended up fixing the Lincoln, putting that 305 in it, which is basically stock. It just has a cam and a little bit of head work, and I took it to Spanish Fork and took third, which paid like $7,500. And then I took it the next weekend, never touched a car. I never touched a car after I fixed it after Heber. I just kept running it. But I took it to UTC, took third, took it to Nephi, took third, and then took it to Manti and took second. Manti was only 5 cars, so it's not like a real big score, but still paid $3,000.
That's not bad. So how big are the car counts out there?
I feel like hard cars are definitely going down. Heber tends to fill up because it's like the first hard show of the year, and then the scraps kind of like work their way through every other show. But like Heber will get like 40 cars roughly, And then I think Spanish Fork had 21 or 22 for 10,000 to win.
So wait, how much does Heber pay to win?
Oh, it was either 10 or 15,000 to win, but then they had 3 $5,000 individual Mad Dogs also
That's what it
in the
was.
main
Because
event. And
I
then they had the
thought,
Monster. Yeah.
which
Then they had the Monster Award as well. It was 4 or 5,000 on Friday night, and anybody could win that one.
so I could be wrong, but I thought like throughout 3 weeks there was like $100,000 up for grabs or something along that lines.
So there's Heber. So the total payouts. So Heber's like 110 or 120,000 total payout, and then UTC's about 100,000 payout. It's at least 100, and then Nephi or Juab County, it's like 115,000 or 110,000 to win, and they're all back to back. So Heber's the last week of July, last weekend of July. That's the only 2-day show, I believe, in Utah.
Wait,
And
so these are
then
all 1-day shows?
Spanish Fork and Nephi is, and every other show in Utah is. It's only Heber that's a 2-day show.
Huh. That is very interesting because, like, sorry to cut you off here, but like,
you're good.
So for like if Heber gets 40 cars and that's a 2-day show and they still pay out that money, that's insane. Because around here, if like they're paying out that type of money, promoters do it like they start panicking if they have 40 cars around here. Like if Deadman had 40 cars for their 15K class, TJ is gonna start panicking. Yeah. Like that is so weird how much different all that is.
But there's more cars that show up there, or I should say, there's been more cars showing up to the wire class because I feel like a lot of, the guys that started derbying in Utah are now getting in their 50 or older 40s, 50s, maybe early 60s. So now everybody's retiring, and then the young bucks are getting in, but it's pretty expensive in some parts of Utah to live. So I feel like wire class is taking off pretty fast. Just because it's so cheap.
Which that is what I heard of that, like out there in Utah, that because I was even talking to you about this a while ago about how like you said there's not much complaining when it comes to like the big money classes, which that's like when I took that Lincoln to Deadman all weekend long, it was just crying and complaining. Really? But it's really weird. Which do you think that has something to do with it? Like the higher income basically eliminates a lot of like the lower end like income people.
Not that. I think when anybody sees something new tried in Utah, because like I feel like as a state we're 10 years behind you guys. Like that picture that Peter Hansen put on his page, that was like a 10-year difference with his Vic, and it was a Vic and then a Rivy, I believe. And like right now we're like pretty much where his Vic's at right now. Like that's 90% of drivers in Utah are at that stage.
So why do you think you guys are so far behind?
I think the full cradle thing's a big one. I think a lot of people are scared to put big money in motors to, possibly break them. But I think it's just hearsay, but I think there's going to be a big change coming to Utah rules. After South Dakota, I think we're going to be seeing full cradles in Utah, and I do hope we see it, because I think it'll save a lot of guys money, and it'll be easier to build multiple cars a year, not having to worry about breaking the motor.
I get you. That is really weird how you guys are allowed all that stuff. Like you're allowed ski because you guys are allowed aftermarket spindles out there, right?
Yeah, and springs.
So you're allowed basically everything. You're allowed everything you could ever want to do except a full cradle. That's really kind of strange.
Yeah, and they used to, like, back in, it was right before or right when I started derbying, but I started out more of the stock class, and then there was a couple full cradle shows, but they would only get a handful of guys show up to the full cradle class.
I get you. So when did you start derbying exactly?
When I was 18. So, so it was 11 years ago, but I believe it's been 12 seasons.
So how did you get into derbying?
Just growing up. So I grew up watching my dad. I mean, he's derbied since he was 15 or 16 years old. And he's 50, let's see, 53 now. So he's been derbying, oh gosh, a long time. I'm 30 something years. 38, 33 or 38. But
That's still a long time.
yeah, like ever since I was a kid, all I remember is going to the Fairview, Utah Derby and the Manti Derby. And right around June, my dad would pull a car in, and then they would have the Derby on the 24th of July. But it was weird. Like, they used to allow, like, guys were getting away with crazy stuff, like filling their frames full of cement. And then some guys got caught doing that, or they didn't like it. There was people complaining about it because they weren't doing it. And then they started filling body panels full of cement.
That's one I've heard around happening like back in the day. Like
yeah, it was
just stories from back in the day. Which doesn't make a lot of sense because you got like 37 horsepower in the motor trying to push about like $8,000 worth of Impala and concrete around. It just I can never figure that out. Like it doesn't sound like a great idea.
Yeah, I've never even put one piece of metal on the frame that wasn't supposed to be there in the rules. That stuff's like, I feel like we just need to leave that kind of stuff in the past, filling frames and stuff.
So out there at Utah, what like going back to that real quick? So what are does everybody basically build with that like kind of like just straight to the rules mentality?
I feel like there's, probably half a dozen guys that push it. And, right. I build to the rules. Like, our rules allow so much that there's not really much more needing to be done, I think. I mean, I ran that Lincoln like 3 good times and once for like 2 minutes, but I got like almost 2 hours of seat time in every car I've built.
That's pretty good.
And our shows are really fast paced, like South Dakota fast paced.
Like that's in every class?
Every class. Stock class, wire class. There's always a couple guys that pitter patter around, but they usually get taken care of pretty quick.
So basically so what do you think is that because of like the respect between the promoters and the drivers? You think that is?
That we're willing to put on a show?
Yeah.
Yeah. And none of us really plan on running a car more than once. Like, if we do, sweet, but none of us plan on it just because, I mean, every car is one hit away from getting junked.
Yeah.
At least out here. I mean, if you had like full length A-arm or bumper to A-arm I cannot talk. Full length bumper shock tubes or bumper brackets, bumper straps, whatever you call it, but bumper to A-arm, I feel like a lot more guys would get a little even crazier if we were allowed that.
Is it possible to go crazier than you guys go out there? It's like How many times do you think you Utah guys see a shot and you don't take it?
I've done it a couple times because 2022, I was like lining up for a shot. You probably seen the video of me getting 45 by an imp.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I think so. I believe I have.
So I was trying to line up for that shot, and it destroyed the car. It ruined the imp as well. I was in the 9802, and the whole entire spring pocket. It took, like, I used all my fix-it plates on the passenger rail to fix it, and then I ended up taking fifth the next weekend at Spanish Fork with it. And that thing, like, it was bent so bad my header was bent clear back and around itself. Bumper was above the headers. We're pretty close to it.
It amazes me. You guys have these hard cars, and you drive so hard. They're like stock cars.
Yeah, I don't think I've not bent a car yet. It's either good or bad, though. They're usually nasty shots when they bend, but.
So you guys, it is like one rollover and you're out, right?
unless if you do the rollover and you end up rolling over, they'll roll you back over and let you keep going, but the car you rolled, that's like the ultimate kill shot. But back in 2018, my sister rolled herself hitting Stan McDonald and landed back on her tires, and they let her keep going.
So wait, she rolled all the way around?
All the way back on her tires. And then went and head on to the guy. She was running with the dudes. Went and head on them, and then they stopped the show and made sure she was all right, and then let her keep going.
Wait, so hold on. Let me make sure I'm understanding this. So she full tracks somebody and rolls herself, but like she basically does a barrel roll, so she's back on her wheels. So she just starts going and then full tracks another guy.
Yes. Yep.
I don't even know what to say. Like, that's you don't hear of, that's not a thing around here. Like, I mean, that's not a thing. Okay, if you roll, you look like an idiot. That's how it looks around here. Is there? I didn't. How was that even possible? How fast was she going when she did that?
Oh, she was scooting. It was probably 35 miles an hour. She was going for a trunk shot, and when she hit him, his suspension was super soft in the rear because it was a stock class with a motor swap, and it drove his trunk in the ground, and she drove up on his roof and rolled. No dirt in the headers. Headers never touched the ground. Whole roof of the car never touched the ground.
Huh.
She like rolled herself over the top of him.
What did she say when she got out of the car?
Dude, I can't remember.
Dude,
I've hit my head too many times. I'd have to watch a video.
That's not the only thing I can think of is like that Ricky Bobby clip when I'm flying through the air. This is not good. That's the only thing I can compare that to. That's insanity.
That's what I'd imagine happened.
Dude, I can only imagine sitting in the car and like just doing a complete roll, because I've been rolled a few times, but like it's only been on my side, and even that's like, well, this ain't good. I couldn't imagine doing a barrel roll. That's just insanity to
me. Yeah, I've yet to be rolled. I'm sure the day's coming.
Well,
I've rolled one person. It was in trucks though. It's a little easier.
Well, I could see that. So, when it comes to rolling, like, so since that is a rule, like if you get rolled, you're out. does that like are a lot of the cars out there like wedges out back, or how does that all work?
No, the canoe trunks haven't really been a thing. Like this year, let's see, the last 2 years is the most I've ever seen canoe trunks.
Interesting.
It's like that.
So,
that caddy I did for South Dakota, that was the first time I've like canoed a trunk that deep. Like usually I just like throw a strap around it so it doesn't blow out and just pound it down with a mini axe.
So aren't you guys allowed like an insane rear bumper strap?
Say that again.
Aren't you guys allowed like a super long like rear bumper strap to the body?
Yeah, 36 inches, front and rear.
So that's along with your bumper plate on the frame, right?
No, it only can be attached to the bumper. So the bumper bracket, I don't know. Everybody calls the brackets different, but the like shock tube or bumper bracket on the rear is usually always the same as whatever the front is, including the weld. It like threw me way off building for South Dakota because it was like that you got 18-inch brackets front and rear, but on the rear only 10 of it could be on the frame or something. So I had 6 of it on the bumper, or 6.5 on the bumper, and then 10 on the frame. But out here you get 18 front and rear.
So with them rules being so heavy, what are the cars like out there? Is everybody running 03s, or like what is people running out there?
There's been, let's see, there's been a lot of Cadillacs. There's always like 4 or 5 guys with caddies, and then a lot of guys with 98 02s or any style like that, like 81 and or 80, 81 and to 02. 03s are like not a thing, not really a thing out here yet. I think there was 4 guys in Utah with 03s between the 4 hard shows. Other than that, there's been a lot of guys running imps because imps are legal now in Utah.
Were they banned for a while?
Yeah, they were banned for 20, like over 20 years. They were banned.
Why'd they ban all the Imperials?
Yeah, they banned all Imperials, subframe and full frame, and then everybody remembered. Like I feel like there's still some builders out there that can build them for sure, but I think these Vics are so hard that they can't keep up. I mean, you've seen that one in Blizzard Bash get nosed. That's pretty much what every imp looked like in Utah too.
I saw that from 20 feet away. I was like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
Those 03s are something else. I built the first 03 I ever built was in 2023 for my dad.
So what did he think about it? He like it, or what was his thoughts on that?
Oh, he loved it. The steering was a pain, and we fought it the whole time, but we've got a few ideas up our sleeves that we're going to try to fix that.
So since you're allowed to run pretty much any car you'd like out there, what's your favorite type of car to run for them rules?
With those rules,
or like in general?
My favorite car to run is a 73 two-door Caddy.
Why a Cadillac?
I don't know. I've had the most fun in Caddies, and I've the most cars I've ever built are Cadillacs. So I just feel like they're, just easy to build because I've built so many of them. I don't really have to think about it. But these Vics are like throwing me way off. Because there's like different pressures you got to do, and like I've been told to suck the frame rails together and not to suck the frame rails together. And
I think it all depends on who you ask, to be honest with you.
oh yeah, I asked like 20 guys, and every single one gave a different answer.
I mean, I don't. The only thing that I don't like about Cadillacs is the front suspension. It's like, especially with them big, heavy aftermarket spindles and that like like my water cup has heavier than a lower arm on a Cadillac. You know what I mean? That's just the one thing that I hate about those cars. Other than that, like they're all pretty all right cars in my eyes, at least.
With like all the fast paced stuff in Utah, I've never lost a lower. I've lost 2 uppers, and that was it. And that was just because the ball joints couldn't be welded, so they just pushed back up through.
So wait,
like everything was intact.
So that was with ski spindles on it?
I've only ran. That's the second caddy I've ever put ski spindles on. Like I've only ran since 2022. No, 2021 was the first time I used spindles.
So out there in Utah, like obviously around here, like it's either like when you go to King of Ohio, and even when you go to the Bash for Cash, every car is sitting like 30 inches in the front. Is it like that out there with like the bumper heights, or like what is the bumper heights like around there?
I guess it all depends on the show, but nothing taller than, let's see, the highest bumper height you could have is 30 to the top. And that would be with the 8-inch tall bumper and 22 to the bottom.
So out there, like obviously Gage Sumner kind of made this a mainstream thing, basically. Is everybody trying to climb rads and basically eat radiators out there, or how does that all work in the front?
With like front bumper height?
Yeah, like is everybody like running climber bumpers like Amish pointies and those types of things out there yet, or is that still not caught on yet as much?
Well, there's I think only seven or 8 guys that have aftermarket pointies. Like I built me and my dad had some built that was on the South Dakota car, the front bumper. But we built those to pass any loaded bumper show, because that's all it, up till last year or 2 years ago, all that was allowed was stuffed bumpers. You couldn't have aftermarket bumpers. So it's really new to Utah, but I think it's going to catch on really fast. Like I know I'll be buying one or making one pretty soon.
So a lot of them, so basically around here, all the rule sets change every year. Like this, like prime example for the Bash last year, the front plate couldn't touch the mid plate at all. You weren't even allowed a mid plate. Spindles had to be stock and basically they were But then this year they allowed you to connect everything up front. They allowed you to plate your spindles up. They allowed you to they changed a bunch of rules. Out there in Utah, do they change the rules like constantly out there? Or do they kind of leave them the same for a while and you're just let it sit?
Every year's changed since I can remember. Like back in the day when my dad was running, in those 2 derbies, they stayed pretty much the same, but they didn't allow anything. But now I think they're just trying to find that happy medium with cars. They went to 14-inch brackets for 1 or 2 years, and then people weren't hitting as hard for the first round or like for the heats because they didn't want their cars to move until, that total space between the bumper and the A-arm was complete. So they lost, I feel like they probably lost views on how hard the action was. And then they went back to 18.
So that's what sells everything out there, and that's why the money is so high, because like I mean, there's not. I could be wrong, but like, isn't that like the main source of like entertainment out there? Like, they don't really have like, how do I say? Like, they don't have all these events going on around like on a basically daily basis, like what like we do around here out east.
Um, I don't know. We've got like Salt Lake's only an hour from my house, and they've got a bunch of like they got the Maverick Center and all these. They do monster trucks all the time. They do uh, rodeos. Like they do rodeos constantly. Um, they used to have a racetrack, but I don't know what happened to that. There was one derby held at it, and then it went bankrupt or something. But yeah, there's a lot of things to do, but I think everybody's used to doing so much stuff that they want to do something, every weekend, and the tickets are $15 a piece, so they're pretty affordable for a family.
Because like so what I was told, like the reason the payouts were so high out there when I was talking to people about it is because like you guys are basically like the show that week. Like people dress up and go to the derby like most people go to like NBA games around here. Like that's basically how I was explained how it all works out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a big event. They usually do like a what do they call it? Uh, I'm trying to remember what the fair days are called, but usually like all week long they do stuff in one city, and then they'll promote that the derby's the last event of the week, and it's on a Saturday. So a lot of people have stuff to do Monday through Friday, so then the event tends to fill up pretty quick. Like Spanish Fork, UTC, and Nephi, the Juab County Fair, they filled up in less than 8 hours, sold out over 10,000 seats a piece.
So like when you guys pull, because you guys derby in basically like coliseums out there, right?
Yeah, they're just like rodeo arenas.
That's what I from the videos I saw. They looked like basically it's like pulling into Blizzard Bash without like the roof on it. Is basically what it kind of appears to be. Could that be
Yeah,
true in a way?
and like 4 times bigger.
Wait, what?
I believe I was building the track for the RC derbies, and I believe Nephi is 100 feet wide and 300 feet deep,
Um.
and it's fast.
So what's the dirt like out there? Is it like clay or like what is it?
Every arena is different.
Huh.
I've never even been to an arena twice that's the same arena. Just I feel like the moisture content, the way they manage it throughout the summer, just everything comes into play. But like some of them try to till it up to slow the cars down. Some try to water it down. But like I was watching a couple of those shows out back east, and they water the crap out of that.
I mean, yeah. Well, it all really depends on what show you go to, because like so around here, like 90% of the good tracks, they're all basically made out of clay and concrete dust. So if they don't water it down at least a little bit, then it's like it's dust heaven out there. It's almost not even enjoyable to do.
Yeah.
But like I mean, a lot of the shows you go to for some reason recently, it's just raining at 24/7 there. Which so Skinny said the tracks are sandy loam, black and black dirt with sand. So is it like sand out there, or like I'm like most of the tracks, or is there like an average with anything?
Yeah, most of them are like loose dirt, but they're usually really grippy. Like a lot of us are running 456s. and
So
a lot
is
of
that
guys
what?
shift. A lot of guys shift to second gear,
Hmm.
but I think that's just, I don't know. It's just, I feel like almost a different breed. Not saying that there's not hard drivers everywhere, but God, there's a lot of them here.
Yeah, hold on. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I live here. I go to almost every show around me. Yeah, like what I've seen on YouTube, like you got, like you guys could take, you guys take the title. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like we got hard drivers here. Don't get me wrong, but like not everybody has that. Like let's just go do this mentality. You guys go out there. It looks like you just want to kill something and have fun.
Yeah, and then we usually, after we're done killing each other off, we shake hands and go to Denny's after.
Which, like, the only thing I can compare that to around here is like the truck class. Like those truck guys, I walk around them and I see them and I talk to them, and like they're the happiest group of derbiers that I've ever met around here. Like I'll talk to him. I'll talk to one guy that gets junked. He puts the bumper in the header. That guy is the happiest guy I know. If
Oh
my
yeah,
bumper's in my header, I'm holding my head all the way down back to the truck so nobody sees me. Like it's just insane the differences like between the classes around here, which even out there out west. So, go ahead.
oh, there's not. I mean, there's a couple people and that get upset, but usually by the time they clear the track, they've had lightened up and ready to party again.
So, like, what classes do you guys have out there? Is it just all big cars, or like, what else do you guys have? I'm pretty sure you guys have like trucks out there too, right?
Yeah, we have like everything, but like a is it? It's the most wanted fine art class. Like knock the windows out.
Yeah, that's what
We have a
that class
wire
is.
class, and we have a stock class. It's basically like a motor swap, 10-inch brackets. I believe you're allowed like some classes. You're allowed, no aftermarket parts, but you can motor swap them. And then we have like kind of an in between class, like Stern Dirt Limited Weld. You get like a reed case, 10-inch brackets. Some shows allow fix-it plates on fresh. And then, but like in all the small classes, no, like very little body work can be done. Then we have mini cars. We have trucks. We used to have hard trucks. Now we just have stock trucks.
What happened to the hard trucks?
I don't know. Me and my dad built two hard trucks, and then I think it was 2 years after we built those, I had sold mine off, and everybody went to the farm truck class. I think just because they're getting a little out of hand. There was no really limitations. There was no
Oh,
limitations. Like
well, I can see
our
where
beds were 1/2 inch steel.
your what was,
The beds,
huh?
like laid flat, cut out around the wheel wells.
Well, yeah, I could see why they'd go back to like a farm truck type thing.
and they allow like and trucks kind of followed the car rules. So like 80s and newer trucks were allowed kickers. Like I had one buddy built a 2014 Raptor. Nah, that was probably the nastiest truck to ever touch Utah dirt.
Who built that?
Briar Proctor.
I'm gonna look up a picture of this thing. That's got
Dude,
face.
it's nasty.
So why did he build a 2014? Just because, like,
So the Raptors have really big frames, and then you could. I'm trying to remember how he did the front end of it. I only saw it a couple times, but I believe he leaf swapped the front with a 9-pack of leaf front and rear, and
wait,
then he put like a semi front axle under it, like the I-beam axles, and then made his own hubs and spindles.
huh? Is this it?
Have you found it?
I think was it painted with like bright green and purple and all that?
Yep.
Let me see if I can put this on the screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure who owns that anymore. Here, I'm gonna take my jacket off real quick. I'm dying.
Oh, you're all good. 2014 Raptor. No, that doesn't look like that. That's a 70s. Interesting. I don't think I can get this on here. I could be wrong. So, like, at all the guys who run out there at Utah, like, did a lot of those guys go out there to Goldrush and like even shows like Blizzard Bash as well?
Yeah, like Brad Bowman had a team, and we ended up drawing them.
Which that was that Schrade, correct?
Yeah, Team Schrade. And that was Brad, TJ, Nick Last, and Jordan Luke. And they all run consistently. They all consistently do well in Utah. And yeah, they usually place at least top 5. And then Briar Proctor, Spencer Proctor, Zeb Hansen all went out to Goldrush. They were on Team Wilbur's or no, not Wilbur's. Bar W, the black and brown cars.
Oh yeah. That was the team that took all Imperials, right?
No, Spencer had an 03, I believe. And then Zeb had an 9802, and then Briar had an imp.
So going out there to not Blizzard Bash, Gold Rush, which didn't your dad run Blizzard Bash a few years ago?
Yeah, he ran on Sam Bando's team for 2 or 3 years, and then he ran on Team America for 2 or 3 years.
Which that was you guys ran with what was it? Casey Smith the last year you guys all ran out there, right?
I believe the last 2 years.
Yeah, that would make sense.
He was in an 03, I think, the first year that my dad was on Team America. They were white. No, I can't remember. I'd have to look at pictures.
I get you. I think I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it was Brad Tice. His name goes by the nickname of Baldy. And then I believe Casey, and then my dad.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, like, how many times have you gotten to run with your dad?
A lot. I've ran with him. I've ran against him. There ain't no friends in that arena.
So when you guys pull on the track, will he full track you too?
Would he full track me?
Yeah.
We're obviously gonna wait till it gets down to the wire, once it gets in the money. But me and him and a couple buddies went down to Orderville in 2015 or 16, and it came down to me, my dad, and one of our buddies, and they had beat the crap out of me into the corner. Thought I was done. My dad went to flip a Brody at the other end of the track, and when he turned back around, I was there, full track. Full tracked him and broke his nose.
Oh, that's awesome. So what did he say when he got out of there? And how did that all go?
He was like, "I thought you were done."
Oh, fun.
No, just had to gain composure.
We needed to come back to where we were supposed to be before we could go back after it. Right. So who ended up winning that night?
we tied for first. I broke his transmission when I hit him, and my motor died and wouldn't start again. But I mean, I ran the heat. So that specific show, I was in a 69 to 72 kickered Cadillac with 18-inch brackets, like a full weld Cadillac. And before we went in there, he had told me that there's no way you can junk a kickered Cadillac in one derby. And it was the most junk Cadillac I've seen yet. Like spring pockets ripped apart. One side of the bumper was ripping off the front end. Like the frame rails were literally just tearing apart. The kickers were pushed through the frame. The back of the car was fresh. I didn't use any. I never even used it.
Now you gotta look backwards anyway.
Driving backwards hurts too much.
Yeah, it definitely. It don't feel good when you're just like, because out here in Ohio, basically, in a lot of these big features, it basically goes, you put the nose in the corner and you stick the back out for an hour before it gets down to it.
Right.
Yeah, it gets a little sore before it gets a little fun, you know.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on how guys drive out there because I feel like there's going to be more out of state guys coming to Utah, just with the big payout, you know, the back-to-back shows, and like building that Cadillac trunk. The only thing I was hoping for was that it would just deter people, so that nobody would be following me in.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So, if you were to build that Cadillac trunk again, what do you think you'd do differently?
Probably do it the same. I'd put the window bar directly against the gas tank protector because I thought they had to be offset of each other. So when I built the window bar, the gas tank protector was like super tall, and I had put grinding disc pads between them when I built it. And then when I was in tech, he was like, "Oh no, it could have touched. It just can't be attached." I was like, "You know how long that took me to?" Because I build like 99% of the time by myself. So I was like having to keep putting the grinding disc between, making sure there was a gap.
So, could you even see out the back of that Cadillac?
Oh, God, no. But I think that was mostly the gas tank. Like when I was building it, I was like, man, I'm going to be able to see awesome out of this thing. Like even through the rad guard I cut up to put on the back. I was like, oh, I'll be able to see just fine. And then I put the 15-gallon tank back there and a trans cooler. And I was like, oof, that's going to be rough. Good thing I don't drive that way.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, so when I set those cars up, how I usually do it is, so I build Fords, obviously. I don't really mess with Cadillacs. So the top of my gas tank is maybe, because I usually run a really wide tank, not a tall tank.
Right.
So the top of it is maybe 6 inches above the top of the package tray by the time it's all said and done. And then, so like, what I usually do for the tank protector gussets is I run it back and I kind of build it along the top of the back of the package tray so it comes up to the back of the roof. And I mean, I think the way I do it, I basically use 2x2, and so the back window I like to have is one really big square, but coming off of that, I have like 4 gussets per side. So like I can't, which I run Lincolns anyway, so you can't really see anything out the side of it anyways, except that little back square.
Yeah, those pillars are pretty big.
Dude, it was terrible. Like, so the one I built for the Bash, by the time it all got said and done, I could see out about it was about 2 feet wide. I had a 2 feet by 3 feet tall rectangle that I could see out the back of it, and that was it.
Yeah, I tried backwards driving a little bit this year just to get prepared for Gold Rush, just in case. But other than that, I don't think I've hit with the trunk more than like a dozen times. Like usually people, because I usually on the Cadillacs I do a tuck trunk, but like out here in Utah, these guys are nuts, dude. They'll follow you in full track.
So yeah, so you guys got that rolling start too, which
yeah,
that's one thing I could never understand. Like, why do you guys have a rolling start? Like, what is the reasoning behind that?
Well, it gets the pace going real fast because they also put a stick in the center of the track, and first one to hit the stick gets X amount of money. So like usually it's 100. I think the most I've seen it's like $200 or $300, and yeah, first one to hit the stick, it's like an incentive to go to the center of the track and not just stay on the outside. Because a lot of us guys will circle the outside and find some poor dude not paying attention. And the rolling start, I mean, I've been started either way, either passenger door in and driver's door in. And passenger door in gets a little sketchy. Like you want to get your car turned back around and on the driver's side real quick because they call door shots fast. Like you touch a door seam, you're DQ'd. Usually. They've been a little bit more lenient with how fast the cars are getting, but there was a show in like 2019. It's down to like top 4, and a guy from back east came out and he tapped a door, and they went and broke a stick.
Dude, that, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like around here, door shots are a joke these days. Like they basically say
another part of the car.
pretty much, like nobody calls it anymore, which like it makes sense considering the fact we have like quarter-inch, like you have quarter-inch door plates, you have quarter-inch inner door plates, you have these big cages. I can see why, but at the same time though, like getting smacked in the door hurts. It's no fun.
Yeah, I've never been smacked in the door. I've been smacked in the door once, but it was nothing crazy. The dude was on his brakes, but yeah, nothing. There's rarely driver's side of the car is pretty untouched. Like the driver's side of the car is usually untouched because everybody's scared of mistiming it and hitting the door.
Like, so it's really weird because every time I get blasted in the door, like, because when I'm out there, like, I tend to be a very calm, like, slow type of driver. But like when I get smacked in that door, and like when my head gets cranked off that B pillar, and it just immediately starts just like throbbing, and like I know it's going to be a headache for the next 3 weeks. Like it's business from there on out till that guy's out, and then we got to go back, take some aspirin in the corner, drink some water, calm down,
Yeah, I was noticing out at Goldrush, there was like nobody running door foam.
I mean,
like I run a huge like 3-inch door foam pad, but I always have. I don't know if it's just preference. I don't remember ever smacking it that hard.
Which, like, I mean, personally, like, I don't, because the way I drive, I center myself. I try to center myself in the car, So, like, I'm always holding onto the strap or the shifter. So I'm always holding on to something. But, like, to be honest with you, I don't really see door pads at all out east. Like the only time I've ever ran one when I was 10, because my mom made me. But other than that, like I've never really had a problem with it. I mean, granted, you're in there, you're gonna get banged around eventually. But like that's why I get made fun of. I get called, like a suck up. But I wear pads I wear elbow pads, knee pads, everything.
See, and I think the door foam, like, I think that's the main reason of running the door foam is, not smoking your elbow on the door.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I learned yesterday that don't matter anyways, because like Old Derek was telling me how the one time he was at Blizzard Bash, his hand was on the steering wheel and it got hit. Which, I mean, anything's possible inside of a derby car, you know.
On the steering wheel, his hand got hit.
Like he was holding the steering wheel, and then like the car somehow it was on the side, it got over him, and then like it hit the bumper hit his hand. It put a hole in his hand, and like his fingers all like looks like a spaghetti noodle. It's kind of freaky, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I had my dad almost came through my door pillar once. He rolled a dude like right in front of me, and then his front bumper landed like right here in the pillar.
Yeah. So like, so when you and your dad, like, when did you guys start running together? Like, how old were you when you started running with him?
Like on a team?
Well, like in general, like did you guys always travel around together, or like how did that all work?
Oh yeah, we've always tried to hit the same shows as each other.
So like, is it when you guys go out there, is it like a competition to see who can do better, or are you guys trying to junk each other? Like once it gets down towards the end.
We've only junked each other once.
What?
Like that one time in Orderville, that was as much as I can remember, that was the only time we've junked each other. Other than that, we try to like a father and son would, just try to keep tabs on each other.
I get you. Like when it gets down to it, so when it gets down to 1 and 2, how does that all play out? Is it like, does he make you earn it, or like y'all just split money, or how does that all work?
Just like at a show in general.
Yeah, let's say you guys go out to Herbert next year, and it gets down to you and Dad. How's that going to end up? Is he going to like? Are you junking it out, or are you guys just saving the cars and splitting the money?
We're junking it until one of us can't move. But that's how it's always been in Utah. Like, I mean, I've watched Brad and TJ like waylaying each other until one of them's stuck or one of them doesn't move, and if they're stuck, it's usually because they're up on the K rail. But I mean, like when it gets down to 1 and 2, man, it gets dirty.
Well, that's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I really thought about going out there to Utah, but like I just like, no offense to you guys, but like I'm just not ready. Like, I mean, like I tend to turn it up when I have to, but like I just don't know I don't know how to explain it. Like, you guys are nuts. You guys are freaking crazy out there. Like that's the only way I could say it. It's like walking into a bar and people are just like throwing chairs, and all you want is a giant Coke. Like that's the only thing I can compare it to.
Yeah, you just gotta join them. but like our heats, I mean, the average heat out here lasts under like 7 minutes, and there's 7 to the most I've seen in one heat's like 11 cars. There was my heat last year in Spanish Fork. My car was pretty junk, like pulling in the arena before I even ran. But that was the longest heat I've seen, and it was like 11 cars, and they only pulled 3, and we, it got down to like 4 or 5 of us, and we all really wanted to not go through the grudge match with like, let's see, it'd been 15 cars in the grudge match, and only pulling 3. It's like none of us wanted to do that, and they didn't really have an incentive for a Mad Dog, because they usually will pull the Heat Mad Dog as well. But there was no money in it. I mean, sometimes, like, I feel like a Mad Dog has to have a money incentive as well.
Real quick, like, what is the grudge match? Like, what is that?
It's just like a last chance to go. I think you you guys call it a consi.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like the consi, so like if you don't make the feature in the heat, you get like that's your second chance, basically.
Yep.
That makes sense. So, what is it? So you're from Utah, at least. Like, what is it like out there, in California? Is it all like relatively the same, or is it completely different out there?
I've only been to one show in California, and it was a little tiny show. I think I went and teched it for a guy, and I think there were 7 cars there. And they put on a show, but it was nothing even close to Utah. The track was, you could probably fit 4 of their tracks in one of ours. They had probably 300 or 400 people in the stands. It's definitely different.
So, like, since it's so big out there, and like since you guys draw in such a crowd, it's like, do you guys have like big sponsors like Summit or anything like that out there, like Monster or anything like that?
No, not that I know of. I don't know anybody that's sponsored by a large company.
So
there's a lot of small companies that sponsor drivers to help them out.
I get that. Well, that makes sense. So, what else did I want to ask? So, from that, so where do you see the future of Utah going? Do you think it's going to like keep going like in the same direction as the East, which I think you could argue is going down, or like how do you see the future of derbying in Utah going?
I think it'll stay consistent. I'm hoping as the younger drivers get older, that the hard cars will make their way back, because there used to be 40 cars. Like 40 cars is usually the limit, because they usually try to keep shows under like 4 hours start to finish. And that's with the stock classes, the whatever filler heats they have, like trucks or mini cars. And like our heats are so short. But anyways, I think it'll have like I think we're in the low spot right now with car count. So I think it'll just continue to grow.
So how has derbying out there changed in the past like 10 years, for example? Is it like completely different, or what is that like that?
Yeah, the rules are completely different. None of the rules are the same with the cars except for stock class. Stock class is, pretty basic. Can't really do much. But the hard cars, it used to be full weld. You could weld every seam. You could weld body to frame, pull pucks. Now every car has to have 1-inch pucks. And just everything's changed. Like even down bars. Like 3 years ago, we weren't even allowed down bars in hard cars. And then just over the course of the last 3 years, we've started allowing down bars for safety, because guys, the Fords, they split the seams inside, and I think it was in 2017. My dad was running a 03 with a Mark 5 body, and you could literally stick your leg down to the ground because the body and frame had separated so much. But it took another 3 years to even have them start allowing it.
Like that's how like even like my bash team car did the same thing. Like because I drive with the door bars a lot, you know what I mean? Like just saving the car. But like, dude, the last time I ran that Lincoln against Pete, he blasted me in the door bar, and it was a hard shot, and it basically shoved that cage over like 6 inches. Like that's the main reason I bought the Sky High steering shaft, not because the car's going up, it's because it's going side to side. Like that steering column, it's grinding on that upper arm bracket. My little twig arms over here, we can't really turn that well. So like, I called up my boy Jake Hansen. I was like, listen, dude, I need one. I don't have an option. I weigh 10 pounds.
Yeah, because Pete, and Jason all in the same heat.
Jason who?
Kinman?
No, at King it was me, Jason Kinman, and I think it was oh my gosh, I can never pronounce his. I want to say Jacob Beaver, but I don't think that's who it was.
Where did you run with Peter at?
I ran with Pete down there at Stonesboro.
Oh, okay.
That night when it was the same night the whole TV crew was there for his huge article and everything to say how great Pete Hansen is.
Oh, okay. I watched that one.
Dude, I love Pete to death. Like I talk like he'll probably call me when I get off of this stream and we'll talk because he's the thing I love about Pete is like he lives in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Okay. Like it's him, Melanie, his buddy Logan who helps him on the yard and builds cameras there. And that's about it. He has little kids and a dog. That's what Pete does, okay? So I
and
talk
wins a lot of derbies.
What's that?
And wins a lot of derbies.
Oh, dude, like that guy. He only thinks of derby. Say that again.
Did they just have the check signed out to him if he says he's coming?
Well, he's got a big head. Okay, I probably won't even be able to call him now. You know, now that you said that.
Get a phone call.
Dude, like the thing about Pete is like, since all he does is basically think about derby cars, talking to him is like it's like talking to Toby. You know, he just has so much knowledge that like if you ask the right questions, he's like an endless dictionary. He really is.
Right.
Which he almost had me talked into going out there to Utah with him last year. Thankfully he didn't, but you know.
Supposedly he's supposed to come out this year.
Oh, great. Well, I'm going to have to tag along when Pete goes.
At least come watch.
You know, like, if I come out there and watch, like, the problem is, so I went out there to Blizzard Bash, and, like, I had this plan, like midway through Derby season, I was like, listen, if I keep derbying like I'm derbying, I'm going to be broke, living with my parents. It's going to be a sad, like, 10 years before I get stable on my feet like an adult, you know? So I was going to take 2 years off of derbying. Well, I went to Blizzard Bash. It's going to be a sad 10 years before we get on our feet, okay? Because, like, dude, it was like going out there to Blizzard Bash was the greatest thing ever. And I know if I go out there to Utah, like, I'm going to be telling Mom, hey, Mom, listen, you know, like, I love Ohio. I love my family, but, like, bigger things are calling, you know.
Dude, there's a lot of people that would love to drop everything and move out here just for the derbies. From like April to October, it's pretty consistent derbies. There's like 25 or I think it was 28 was when it was pretty maxed out. 28 shows in 6 or 7 months.
So like, how many promoters are there out there?
Like all the smaller shows, like Brad Bowman and Ryan Simpson do Heber, and as far as I know, that's the only one that they do. And then Norm Robinson does Spanish Fork, Ryan Kay does Nephi, and then Stern Dirt does 7 or 8 shows a year. And then like all the county shows like Manti, Fairview, there's like Parowan, and there's a whole bunch of little tiny shows that all have individual promoters. That's so more like at a county meeting, they're like, hey, who wants to post this on Facebook?
So, like, how many big shows are there? There's like, what, 10 maybe from the sounds of it?
I think there's probably 10 shows that pay over $7,000 to win.
Huh. Which, like, that's really interesting and different compared to around here out east. Because, like, within the span of October, there was 3 shows that paid $10,000 to win. Like prime example in July, in like June and July area, like almost every month there's at least one show that pays $10,000 to win in like from about Illinois over.
Oh, really?
Dude, they're everywhere. Like it's gotten to the point in my eyes where winning 10K is like winning 5K 5 years ago. Like it's almost lost its value. And like the thing about winning 10K is like it's not as much as you think until you have it. You know, like when I won the Bash this year, I thought I was going to be set for life. I thought I was going to be able to hire a maid, buy a house. No, I was an idiot.
Buy a new motor.
You know, the worst part about me winning all that money is like it was in a compact car. And I have a quarter invested in that setup that I do in my big car setup. I don't do anything in my big car setup. I kind of just go out there for popularity at this point. I don't really know what I'm doing. So speaking of compacts, what are the compacts out like there? Are they pretty stock or like how heavy of a build is it?
I've never even looked at the rules. I've watched it. I think I've watched like 2 mini car heats.
You know, it makes sense.
Because I'm usually fixing my car while the minis are going.
So out there, I'm still very surprised that like you guys don't have any like 2-3 day shows. That blows my mind for especially with the amount of money you guys pay out. That's just insanity to me.
Yeah, Heber's usually been a 2-day show, no matter who promoted it.
So is Heber just like your guys' regular like a fair, or is that like a national event? Like what is that exactly?
It's just a county fair. They do their fair days throughout the week, and then do the Derby Friday, Saturday. And then like Sam had talked to Bowman and made the deal of, I'm not sure all what went down, but like the Wheelman's class, a couple cars from that show got picked for the Wheelman's. Like Heber's a fresh car only show this year. So I feel like usually they only get fresh cars because it's the first hard show of the year.
How like so pre-rans, like how do you guys manipulate pre-rans out there? Because like if it's a pre-ran in Ohio, like that's like basically the best case you could possibly have, because that gives you basically the go ahead to do whatever you want to the body, add all your fixer plates on, do all the work you want to. Is that like the same out there, or is it more like held back out there?
I feel like it all depends on the guy. Some guys, just want to get one more run out of it. Or, there's some guys that do all the sheet metal work, do the body patches and make sure all their fix-it plates are on in the right spots. And then I feel like some guys, I was even one of those guys this year that just like fix it up good enough to run it again.
Does that make sense? So, speaking of different types of guys, is every car out there flat black?
No.
You don't know how lucky you are.
No, I feel like, dude, that Caddy I built was the 3rd full black car I've ever ran. And the first 2 that I ever ran were just because I thought it was cool. And then we found a painter for a while, but he was just a crackhead off the streets with a lot of talent.
Wait, hold on. How did you get? Wait, what's the story behind that?
Dude, I have no idea how he was found. All I know is one day my car was in the shop getting painted by some dude named Keith. And that Keith was going to live in a bay for a while. I was like, all right.
So Dad just kind of brought home some like homeless guy that could paint.
Yeah. I don't know how he got him in the truck, but yeah. I don't know if he was like advertising, like painting for food or something, but he went off the wire on the last car that we tried to have him paint, and I haven't seen him since. And that was in 2021.
So
His kid popped up. His kid popped up on my TikTok live like 6 months ago, and was like, "I think my dad used to paint your cars." I was like, "Yeah, where is your dad?" And he's like, "I don't know."
So wait, hold on. So some random guy just starts painting your cars and living at the shop and like just
Painting cars.
did he steal anything when he left or anything like that?
I don't know. We're missing one welder. We're missing a Hobart welder. Been missing it for 4 years.
How do you misplace a welder?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he stole it. Because then he offered my dad to buy a welder. He was like, "Hey, Derek, I've got a welder if you want to buy it." And it was a Hobart. And I was like, "Dude, that's our welder. Like, it has to be. There's no way he acquired this." Yeah, he is a funny dude. We actually brought him out to Capital City Carnage. He was the one that painted that $50,000 car.
Well, yeah, I remember that.
And we brought him out there, dude, and he was we should have just left him. He was like wanted by, I think, like Salt Lake police or something. So we went to board the airplane. He was nowhere to be found because they took him somewhere. And then all of a sudden, we got off the plane. Never saw him get on the plane, dude. And we get off the plane, and he's like waiting for us. We're like, "How did you even get here? You never even got on the plane." But yeah, that guy was wild. Lots of talent, but no drive to. He could go really far with it, I believe. But
Dude, that is, I don't even. So, so how did you ever figure out how he got on the plane?
no, never figured it out.
Oh my god.
We don't even know if he was on the plane. Like, we never saw him get on board.
Huh.
We were like the last ones to board.
They probably just put him down in the luggage rack or something. I don't know.
They probably did.
Yeah, dude, that's insanity. So like, so how many, how many people in your family derby?
3. Just me, my dad, and then my sister Hannah.
So
my wife got in a car once. She took second, and then said that was good enough for me.
So have you guys ever been on the track, like all three of you guys?
No.
Really?
We've all been at the same show. Like, we ran that first Las Vegas Derby, and my dad and Hannah pulled the same heat, and I didn't pull the same heat as them. And then I think they both made it to the main event, and I went through the grudge match and ended up junking my car in the grudge.
So that was so wait, you guys were all three on different on 3 different teams?
No, there was a spring show and a fall show. The fall show was the team show.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I didn't even know they had a spring show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they had 2 shows in Vegas in 2019.
Isn't it crazy to think that was like 3 years? Like, well, no, that was 4 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it just popped up on my memories the other day of me building the Vegas car.
So, what did you guys take out there to Vegas?
For the stock show or the team show?
Team show.
Team show, me and my dad took Cadillacs.
Fun.
I think he was in a 73 and I was in a 74.
How did you guys do out there?
Not good. Our 4th guy didn't pass. He He had a nasty, nasty suicide door Lincoln.
Why'd they load him? Because it was too hard?
He felt like he was going to be underbuilt coming out, so he overbuilt a little too much. We only had 2 hours to cut.
Oh.
And they wanted him to change leaf springs. They told him that, I believe, that he cut his frame too short, so that they were going to have him extended out with like 1/8 plates.
What?
And just a ton of stuff that would take way too much time. He'd have to swap leaves, cut his bumper off, extend the frame, weld it back on. But it was a crazy cool car.
Well, that's good at least. So, whatever happened to that Vegas show?
I don't know what happened.
Huh.
I know that like COVID happened and like Vegas, was pretty much shut down for the most part. And then, I've hit up Johnny and Gumby about it a couple times, but nothing yet.
So they were Go ahead.
Hopefully somebody will put a show back on in Vegas, because Peter Hansen, their team won it, I believe.
Yeah, I still hear about that. It's like a daily occurrence.
So they did win it for sure.
Dude, talking to Pete it's randomly with that guy. Like it'll be like some random Thursday, and he'll be like, "Oh, I was thinking about the time we were out there at Vegas. I really wish they would do that again." Okay, Pete, whatever you say. I was like, I would have been like 12 when you guys ran out there.
Dude, I've been to Blizzard Bash in South Dakota, and they were both a blast. But Vegas was just the atmosphere. Like you could go derby, and then the derby got done at 9:00. Then you could go party on Fremont Street or go down to the Strip, and then next morning go work on your car, and then just do the same thing over again. That was a 2-day event as well. Both of them were.
So Gumby and them guys were they were the promoters of that show, correct?
Yeah, both of them.
I'm going to ask Gumby whatever happened to Vegas then. To be honest with you, I never knew who put that on until now, which that makes sense.
There was one rap guy that came. He bought out one section of tickets.
Oh, what's his name? The guy with the big chain.
Yeah.
Who is that? I'm sure.
I bet if you check the chats, somebody will say it.
Let's refresh it here. What was that guy's name?
Yeah, he's 60 years old now.
I know who you're talking about, but Flava Flav, that's who it was.
Flava Flav, that's who it was. Yep. Yep. He got bottom row. He was sitting in the bottom row, loving every minute of it.
Dude, I wish I was cool enough to sit by Flava Flav in Vegas. I feel like that'd be a great time. I feel like he's one of them people that he doesn't know anything about Derby and he's just loving every second of it.
Right.
So when you guys went out there to Vegas, what was the track like out there? I've heard mixed things on it.
It was really, really rough. There were some parts of the track that were fine, and then the other spots were just super soft. They just brought it it was literally in the parking lot of the Plaza Hotel. They just sectioned off a whole bunch of parking, put bleachers and a track in it with 8 inches of dirt. And it was my kidneys, or not my kidneys, but my hips were completely bruised just from bouncing up and down. But I was cooking.
So was that so it was harder out there, or
no? Just the track was rough. So bumpy, soft in some spots. Tons of guys got stuck, but it was fast.
I was always told that It was basically soft everywhere around there. So what tires did you guys run when you guys were out there, if you remember?
27s.
27s.
I run 27s literally everywhere, except for I bought a pair of solids for that Goldrush show.
Do you like them solids?
I don't know yet. Haven't had enough track time on them.
Like I love the idea of it, but like my solids, I ran them one time, and the first time I ran them, I knocked the rear end out of the car, and it wasn't even that hard of a shot.
Yeah, I think this next year that I go back, I'm gonna have some like 25-inch bead locks. Get the rear just a little higher, because it was like after, I don't know, it was just sitting a little too low.
I get you. Which don't you? What do you want it to sit low in the back like that?
Not that low though. I won't pass tech again if it's that low. I had to like weld my all thread and it broke.
Did you run working suspension in the back of that thing?
Yeah, it was working until my springs weren't tall enough in the rear to hold 14 inches with the solids to 14 at the bottom of the bumper, so I had to weld the all thread to the pack or to the washer so that it would stay at 14 inches to go to retech. But I'll be pulling that rear end out and putting it in my Heber car. Basically, I'll strip that car out down to pretty much nothing for Heber.
Just throw it out back in the weeds?
Yep. Till about probably September, put it back together for Goldrush.
So how hard is it to find cars out there still? Are they still like available, or like is everything super hard to find out there?
You can definitely find cars if you look. The guys that do like old iron and stuff, they've been buying them up for a while. Once they have them, they don't like to get rid of them because Vics are so new out here. There's only been a couple guys been running Vics for a little bit, and now Vics are getting popular, so they're getting harder to find like on Marketplace. Like if you message somebody on Marketplace about a Vic, they're usually like, "Oh, 10 other Derby guys have texted me already."
That makes sense.
There's still some that you can find.
Which, well, yeah, pretty much is exactly how it is around here. Like to be honest with you, the only places I know locally where I can go and probably score some type of Derby car is like the ghetto. That's about it.
Yeah.
Like I went over there to deliver parts to this guy today, and like I'm driving around, just like random old iron cars that like not even good Derby cars, just random stuffs just sitting there with some ruined tarp on it. The house is falling down.
Right.
Which I'm just like, well, I'm gonna have to come back when I have more time to come see what else we got around this neck of the woods.
Yeah, usually when I'm out working, I keep my eye out. I've already spotted 3 T-birds. Trying to figure out what one of these other cars is. It's definitely like a 60s, really early 70s. I picked up a 72 Olds down the road from the job, and then I found a Merc, like 89 Merc.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to go vibrate their house, and then maybe they'll walk outside and I can talk to them.
So, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what was it like having an Ohio guy with you guys out there?
He welds a lot more than I do. He is very, very creative.
Well, yeah. So when you guys were going through all that, like, how much different was it compared to what you guys brought?
Like car wise?
Car wise, and even like mentality after the heat. Like, how did that all play out?
Like car wise, like I said before, like Utah, we're not allowed I don't know if they even really allow it in Ohio or if they just, if you just bring a torch to cut the welds, but because you can't cut every weld, right? And so I feel like the builds were completely different. Like I read rules different than like 99% of people in Utah. And it's like some of the stuff that he did was stuff that I would never even try to do because the way I've always built in Utah and always had to cut in tech, like I just didn't want to go out there and get loaded or have to cut a car apart all night. So I wasn't really sure what the expectation would be with what builds were going to show up. Like, were cars going to show up? Because, like, there's no ski springs allowed. And, some cars had hump plates, some had spindles. Everybody's trunks were different. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. But, like, I'll do probably a little bit of body work and, like, make the tail lights look nice. But it
I
was,
get what you're saying.
yeah, the body work wise, and even, like, I can't remember if he posted the stuff he did with his rear end, but that was wild. Like, we would get told in Utah to cut it off, but I think there was him and a couple other guys that did it, and they all got away with it because it was all within it was like 13 inches of bracing or something. But I think what they meant was like around the pumpkin.
Well, yeah, that's like I know what you're talking about, and like I I don't have a tendency to do dumb stuff like that because that's stuff that I know I'll probably have to cut. My tendency is I tend to do dumb stuff with cages. Like the amount of times me and my dad have gotten in almost fist fights at the Derby because like we have to cut half the cage out because I was an idiot. Yeah, it's not good. Like, and every time I don't learn. I don't know why. Because like it's when I'm building the cage, it's like when I'm building the cage, I feel like Picasso with an empty canvas. I was just like, what can I do here? Yeah, I end up having to like repaint half that canvas white when I get to the show, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've always kind of built cages the same since 2016, 2017. I've always built just like, I don't know. I feel like I have my own style of cage.
So, speaking of styles of cages, I got a few people in the comments wanting me to share a story about a 74 bumper that I put as a cage. So, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. So we were running this stock team show over there at Butler this past year, and I was at a point where I didn't have any cage material, and all I needed was a back seat bar, and I either cut apart a bunch of stuff that's already welded that fits perfectly, or I just take a walk, and like, well, there's a 74 bumper, like an actual 74 bumper that has pre-ran, plated up, loaded bumper, and I mean, we don't really run that stuff anymore since you're allowed all these fabricated bumpers, so it doesn't really make sense to. So I call and I was like, hey, as long as it's like, I think the rule was like 6 inches off the floor. I said, as long as it's like 6 inches off the floor, can I run a 74 bumper in the back seat? They thought about it. Sure. Well, when I got there, I was kind of my end. I kind of called the wrong John. Because everybody in Butler County's name starts with a J, so I kind of called the wrong J guy. So yeah, I get there and like they did it. They thought it was a creative idea, but they're like, yeah, although it does fit every rule, you can't run that. So I had to cut the back seat bar out. Which
I feel like that's like not gonna win a show though.
That's what I thought.
It's not going to make or break a car.
Like, I didn't think it did anything, to be honest with you. Like, we got junked in the heat that night anyway. So, like, it didn't do anything.
So what did you do with the back seat bar then? Did you find some material and put one in?
Oh no, we weren't allowed.
Oh, it wasn't allowed. A backseat bar was not allowed?
We were allowed to have it. You just weren't. It was bigger than the dimension.
Oh.
Which
they are pretty tall.
Yeah, which I could see both sides of it, to be honest. Yeah. You know, but like at the same time, though, we're back.
I lost you there for a second.
I don't understand it. Sometimes we have great internet around here. Other times it's not.
Yeah, I've got 3 out of 4 bars.
Which, how do you have bad internet? You literally put in internet. How does that work?
Oh, dude. Well, right now they have bad internet out here. They don't have good internet yet. Like this house I'm staying at, I did an internet speed test and it was 6 megabytes a second. Like it barely even loaded the internet speed test.
Ay, that's funny. So, we're going towards next year. So, what are you looking forward till next year? Like, what's the game plan?
So, I was gonna run a 2-man team show in April, but just didn't really seem to work out too well. I had a good teammate picked out, and then it was Ralph with Gray Area Derby Parts was supposed to be my teammate, but he's got a title to defend out of the show out there that's the same day. So then I was trying to get Pete to come out, and then I didn't even get a spot. Like they filled the 26 or 28 spots in like less than an hour. So my plan is to build a car for Heber and then hopefully run it at Spanish Fork, Nephi, Manti, and then put the caddy back together for Goldrush.
What do you if you don't mind me asking, what do you plan on taking out there next year to Heber?
It all depends on if rules change. If rules stay the same, the 80s and newer are allowed kickers, then I'll take an 03. If we're allowed full engine cradles, then I'll probably take a Cadillac.
You'd rather take a Cadillac against an 03?
Just because I know what they do.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But if we're not allowed, like the big thing is with the Cadillacs is they like to split the seam at the firewall, and once that seam splits, they're pretty hard to keep together after that. So if we're not allowed seam welding, then I don't know. I'll probably end up building an 03, but I'd like to take a caddy.
I get you. To be honest with you, I'm the exact opposite. I am not a Cadillac guy by any means.
Didn't you run one?
Yeah, I know. That's kind of why I'm not a Cadillac guy. Like, because the thing about it is like, so I basically grew when I've run big cars, I've only ever ran Fords. So running a Cadillac compared to running a Ford is two different. It's like driving a jet ski compared to driving a yacht. It's two different things. You know, which I tend to. Oh, dude, like I just didn't feel comfortable in it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like when I'm in that big car, I didn't like any of it. But like when I'm in a car like a Ford, I tend like I have a little bit more. I feel like I have a little bit more control over it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel opposite. I think just because I'm comfortable in them, like I've ran a lot of Cadillacs, and I've only I ran a box Lincoln, 29802s, and a 94 town car. I think I ran one show in an 03 once. but there was no, like, the steering sucked. The car did not run good. I think I still ended up taking second, but
Hell yeah. I don't know. I like Cadillacs. I think they look cool, but like I just am not a fan. Like I don't. To be honest with you, it's not even that. Like I guess I could probably get over like the fact that it's a big car, but like I just don't like how the metal is on them things. You know, like
the metal.
Like so the Cadillac I ran, like all it did was rip. Any 70s style like car I've ever ran, the sheet metal, like it just tends to be very fragile. You know, like it just rips. Do you find that to be true at all?
Yep. Yeah, the front fender on mine's ripped. I'm not sure on whose fender. It must have been when I had on TJ or something, because I was only in it for a little bit. But yeah, it did. It ripped from like the front corner of the quarter panel back like 10 inches, like just like you took a knife to it.
That's exactly how that Cadillac I ran, the Godwin's that I ran, is like I barely did anything with the side of it. And I got hit in the side, got hit in the doors maybe like 10 times, if that. And it just destroyed all the doors. Every door needed new sheet metal. All the quarters needed re-sheet metaled. It was terrible. Which, I mean, that's the Fords. I feel like the sheet metal bends before it rips. But then again, if it keeps going for too long, everything will rip eventually.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, like I haven't welded on a Ford for a while. I usually like find somebody that wants something to do to make some extra money to weld doors for my own cars. But like the metal is different.
Oh, it's
like welding on them sucks. Like welding door strap on that Lincoln, I welded a little bit of the trunk to finish it up, and I welded like one door strap on the very, like, I only say that because it was a beginner welder that welded the car up, and she did a good job, but none of them broke. None of the welds broke.
That's all that you can really ask for.
But I didn't have to weld the door, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, like
I only had to weld for like half an hour.
so sheet metal on Fords, it's like it's all galvanized. So I'm friends with, I don't know if you know Tony Penwell at all. They're the people that have like 1,000 wagons. That like so his son Cam, he got into Fords a bunch because for the youth class. And like I talked to Tony on the phone for about at least an hour the one day, just about sheet metal in general, because that's what he does for a living. He owns his own welding business. And I asked him, I said, Tony, you're a welding guy basically. What is the key to the sheet metal on this Ford? Every time he welds sheet metal on a Ford, he takes the torch, he heats all the sheet metal up till it's basically glowing red, and then he lets it cool down. And then what you'll notice is that like once it's cooled down, it's like a slag just builds on top of it, and you take a chipping hammer and chip it all right off, and then that's when you can start really welding on it.
I have heard that.
You have to do that.
Oh. Yeah, I'm going to try a new spot.
So like you have to do all that prep work. But like after you do all that, it actually welds fairly decent.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try that because the last Ford I welded on was for Joker. But it was an 88 Merc. And I feel like the box Fords, box Lincolns, and stuff like that aren't as bad. feel like it's just more of the new style stuff.
I get that. Like, and even it's really weird because all like these newer cars, sheet metal are like that. Like Camrys and Luminas, I find to be the exact same way. Like it's really weird how it's all made, which I mean, I guess that's kind of have to learn to adapt to it, I guess, which it's really weird because even the thing I find the more I think about it is like the frames are the exact opposite. Like welding on why am I having so many internet problems?
Oh, is it me or you? I sat in the same
It's
spot.
me. Like I've been having problems with this TikTok stream all night long. That makes no sense. Why though? I don't know.
My bars went down when I backed up. It's good right there.
I don't know. Like, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, all the metal I've been getting recently, like it's all been welding very poorly. Like even the new steel I get, it's just it's something's off with it all. It just doesn't seem to weld properly.
Yeah, I've been using dual shield, not flux core, but just like dual shield with welding gas. And I tried it on my Lincoln Town Car for 2023, and I tried it on a customer's Caddy, and that stuff's a lot stronger, but it's also 3 to 4 times as much. It's like, I think the last roll of it I bought was like $170 for a 33-pound roll.
Yeah, no, thank you.
But you can, like, I just did all the framework with it. I didn't do, well, I welded the down bars with it, but like all the body work and stuff, I just used regular 045.
I don't know. Like, when I went to the welding store, my bill was $100 this past week, and all I needed to get filled was one big bottle of argon CO2 and one big bottle of oxygen, and I think it was a small roll of welding wire, and that was basically $100 flat. So I couldn't be more happy with that.
Yeah, that's cheap. Out here, I think the last time I went to the welding shop, got a roll of wire, just a regular, like S6 Pinnacle, and I got 75/25. I think like one grinding disc and a set of gloves, and it was like $250, $260.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what do you guys do for flap discs out there? Is it like insanely expensive, or do you buy them off Amazon?
I've been buying, instead of flappy disc, I've been using, I don't have any in my truck, but it's the ones that are stacked in a circle. I'm not sure what they're called.
Like, so on Amazon, there's like, it's like a pack. It's a nice pack. I think it's like a 10-pack for like, I want to say $20, if that. Which,
yeah, usually, I'm trying to think. There's a new style disc that DeWalt makes. It's more of a hard disc, and that's what I usually grind all the doors with, and then like I wire wheel the frames. But there's a like stacked sandpaper flappy disc kind of deal.
Yeah.
And those things are wonderful. And I buy like 60 grit, and that thing moves some paint.
That's like, so be honest with you, when I do a build, like I'm gonna start on my bash car in not too long. I'll probably go through 50 flap discs by the time I get that build done, at least.
Shoot. I probably go through like 3 or 4 on a whole car.
But like my problem is like I talk to like Pete too much, you know. So like if I'll talk to Pete, you know, I'll send him a picture or something to be like, "You're not going to grind that down." What? It's door welding. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm the
Pete'll
same
make
way.
fun of me after I weld the doors for not grinding the
So,
doors down.
yeah, I feel like there's builders like that in Utah as well. Like even like customer cars, obviously, I tend to spend a lot more time on like looks wise. Like if a hole blows through welding doors, I'll fill the hole in and then grind it down before I give it to them. Like on my personal cars, I like functionality is what I'm after, not really so much the cleanliness part. Just because it takes, like, I do it all on my free time. I don't make money building mine.
Yeah.
So,
Like
yeah, for me, functionality is key over cleanliness.
like my buddies like when it comes to flat discs, every time before he creases a quarter or creases the body in any way, he'll take an evening and grind all the paint. He'll flat disc all the paint off of the quarter panels.
Holy crap.
Which
Yeah,
like
there's this new tool I found.
what is it?
So Harbor Freight sells it, and it's called like a paint stripper. They're 4 inch wide on a drum, and you literally just can like do one door seam in one pass. They're like $100. Before I build the next car, I'm gonna go buy one.
I would 100% do that. But like, I always called him an idiot and made fun of him for doing it until when I was air hammering on one car and like I was working the lines, you know, and then I wasn't wearing safety glasses like an idiot and had to spend the next half an hour trying to just slowly get this little paint chip out in my eye, which sucks like always. Yeah. So I had to call him up and apologize and saying I'm gonna have to go order some more flap discs now. This ain't fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do very much air hammer. I do a lot of it just with a sledge and a ball pin.
Like
I finally bought an air hammer bit, like a smoothing bit.
So for my bits, I don't even have a smoothing, but I have like one which is just like a regular ball peen hammer on the end of it, and then I have one which is like it's pretty much like a flat circle that has right angles on the side of it, so it's a pretty hard bit to use. But like that's how one of the keys that I found to getting them like super tight and small body lines that just look perfect, you know, because like I'm like when I'm building a car, I don't know if you watched my interview with Creetlow last night. Like he's the same way. Like if a line doesn't look perfect, like he'll cry. Like it gets him all sad. Like on my dead man car, when the one line wasn't parallel with the side from 20 feet away, dude, I was ready to go in the house and cry. Like it was like I go in the house and I'm just sitting there drinking a coffee because I've been up for 2 days trying to finish this car. And my mom's like, "What's wrong? Like what you seem like." You look like you just saw your best friend get killed. I was like, Mom, I failed on the trunk. And then she went out and once goes outside and looks at it, and she's like, it looks the exact same. I was like, you don't know, but I
do. Yeah. You don't know what I'm going through right now.
You don't know this, Mom. I haven't slept in 2 days, okay? All just to run a stupid derby car, okay? You don't understand. You don't know me.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I don't tend to body work as much just because, like, after the heat, I'm going to do, either fold the trunk up to complete the tuck or, take a sledgehammer to it anyways.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's an idiot. I hate, like, it. The worst part about doing, like, spending, like, the first trunk on my bash trunk, I'll just take that one for example. I had probably a month by the time I got done with that trunk.
With the trunk?
Yeah.
Dude, I spent on that town car I ran this year. I had it already welded, but I had it canoed, and like the sides pretty much sucked in, and like some lines in it in like 4 hours, and I thought that took way too long. And then South Dakota, I tried a different style on how to do the trunk, and had some tips from that Briar Creek builds, Holden Smith.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
He's the one. He posted that nasty looking Buick. Made its rounds on Facebook a lot.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
But I had some tips from him on how to get the trunks that narrow. And I was like, I spent 4 days on that trunk total, like start to finish. And I was like, dude, this is the biggest waste of time. I'd rather focus on making sure everything's hooked up, make sure everything powertrain wise is good, rather than having something look that fancy. But I think the next one will take me like half the time.
Dude, I am so when I'm building a trunk, I love it to I love it looking perfect. I don't know if that's just an ego thing or what it is, but when I'm sitting there and I'm halfway through with it, because after a certain point, there's not really a point of a return. If you're already at that point, why not just make it look the best you can? In my eyes, the problem is it doesn't matter it matters for about up until you run, and then I fold all the crease lines down anyways.
Right.
I feel like. Go ahead.
Oh no, I feel the same, and also just making the car predictable as well. I don't know how much body lines really help, but
I think they help to an extent, but I don't truly know how much they help. I think. Let's be honest though, half the body lines are just for egos. It's because it looks good. When you're going out to when I'm building this car for Blizzard Bash, if I end up going out there, it's gonna look the best I could possibly make it look. No reason other than the fact that I'm going to Blizzard Bash and I want to look cool because it's Blizzard Bash. But I don't know. And I think my love for doing bodywork and my passion behind it, all that is up until only a few 2 years ago, my dad let me touch the frame. I wasn't allowed to touch a frame. I just was allowed to put the cage in and do the body work. So I think that's kind of why I like doing all that stuff so much. Is it stupid? Yes, it's definitely stupid. But I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot to it that's really beneficial for the car.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely making it easier on yourself, and I feel like all the body lines, the next trunk I do will definitely have body lines going down the sides and not just straight up and down, because I kind of kicked me in the butt when I was putting the trunk lid on. I was like, man, this thing's really narrow. It was only 32 inches pillar to pillar or tail light to tail light. You start out 72 inches. And I was like, this thing is tall. I was like, there's no going back now. There's no way to undo this. I just swung a sledgehammer for 2 days. I literally did all that with a sledgehammer and a come along.
So my question is why did you keep the quarters so tall?
Well, so that's where I was getting in with the body lines. The body lines, I mean, when you have when you have a piece going out like this, I mean, that's taking up 6 inches of height and dropping your quarter panels down. So the next time I do one, I'll definitely have probably 2 or 3 body lines going through it.
I get you. When I do mine, I fold I try to fold the top down a little bit to get at that shorter edge toward the back. And another thing I wanted to ask you when it comes to how you did the back of that thing is why did you let the back why did you let the quarters overhang the rear bumper?
So out in Utah, we've always, like, there's no touching taillight panels. They have to stay vertical and in factory shape. So that's why they're like that. It's because I'm just not used to manipulating the metal around them because we've never been allowed it. But, like, as I was saying before, I'm going to, like, over the course of the summer and stuff, I'm going to do some sheet metal work and make it a lot cleaner, since I know now what I can do. But yeah, I'll definitely get them tucked back, because I feel like, if those taillight panels get smoked, it's definitely going to be ripping some sheet metal off and separating the body and frame. I feel like if I can keep them in one and fold the taillights down, and maybe use some 9-wire to help keep all that together through the hits. Hopefully it'll just deter everybody to stay away from it.
So my thinking with that is like, so I always cut the backs off at an angle, just so it's not that straight up and down piece, because I think that's ripped off, because at the bash this past year, I left everything kind of straight up in the back, but not really that much at an angle. And what ended up happening was it basically ripped the entire driver's side quarter off. So like the one side laid down and folded perfectly, but the other side was like this, like just completely everything was disconformed. Nothing was attached. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing some sheet metal work and trying to decide if there's one dent behind the driver's door. I'm trying to decide if I should pull it out or just leave it, or match the other side.
Make it a crease.
Right.
Fun. Well, there, my man. I got to get off of here and get to bed, because I got to go to the gym in the morning, my man. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. I might see you out in Utah one of these days. You never know. I might just pop up. Me and Keith are just going to show up, with a nice Hobart.
All of a sudden, you're going to pop up with a Hobart hopping off the plane.
Hey, dude, look what I found. Some dude I met. Name was like Keith or something. Said he knows you.
Dude, he pops up randomly.
He's probably going to show up at my house tomorrow.
Dude, he probably will, dude. Never know with crackheads.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you guys all for tuning in tonight. Thank you for the TikTok stream. Sorry we had those internet issues a little bit ago. Awesome. Thank you guys. Tomorrow we have Chad Markley on, and then to end the week we have Gumby on. Every night is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that's all I got to say to you guys. Thank you all for watching. We shall see you tomorrow.
Hey, bring it up to Gumby about Vegas.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I already put that in my notes. We're good.
Okay. Have a good night, Scotty. Thank you.
You too, my man. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Producer, I'll make the